All right, what is up? Justin the Chase Industry here. Today, we're working on my buddy Moses's 2009 BMW 328. This here has been his drift build that he's been working on. It's a daily driver slash drifter. And the biggest problem that he's had with this car, taking it to the track and driving around, is that right there. So this right now is just a sluggish automatic transmission, but it's got good roots, good suspension setup, at least for pretty basic, you know, nothing too crazy. It's got some springs up in there. I welded the diff for him back before no coast. This thing's been treating him pretty well, and he has committed to the manual swap. So right here, we got a Getrag trans, 6-speed, we got clutch, we got pedals, hydraulics, brackets, hopefully everything we need.
Even ECU for a manual car, which we may not need.
Yeah, we're gonna try sending it on the auto ECU. Worst case, we'll swap that one in, and if we gotta get it flashed, we'll find somebody local that can do that for us. But yeah, basically our plan today is to get the transmission out before nightfall, and maybe we'll start kind of assessing the parts that we have in the pile, and if it's looking pretty good, we'll probably start getting it put together and ready to throw in tomorrow. All right, so Moses has pretty much got the auto shifter assembly out. We're up on jack stands. We are just now starting to assess everything. We definitely got some oil leaks. I think we're throwing a rear main seal in it. Drive shaft is disconnected and just floating in there. We're gonna leave that thing in so we don't have to pull the exhaust and all that heat shielding that runs all the way back. So once those lines are all off of the tranny and out of the way, he's got all the shift linkage off over there. And there's those two lines way in the back over there. We'll take that off, and once that is done, we're ready to drop this cross member here and start taking off all the belted blocks, I believe. The shifter is all disconnected up top, right?
Yep, and there's no shifter in this thing at all anymore.
Cool. So yeah, we're gonna finish up with this, get those lines off, make a big mess on the floor probably. Under the car, working on getting the torque converter bolts loose. I'm just over here with this ratchet on the crank, spinning that over for him so that we can get each one lined up through a little inspection hole. He's getting those out. We got fluid drained. This is pretty much the last thing before we're gonna pull the belted blocks, and once those are out, we'll drop the cross member and get this thing pulled out. Moses is taking the intake manifold off because if I'm able to show you, back down there, that's where the starter is. I mean, we knew we'd gotten all the belted blocks except the starter, but yeah, so we have all those out. You can see those are all out, but way up at the top, we got 3 bolts for the starter, and this thing can't drop down anymore. So we're gonna pull this intake. Once that is off, we should be able to get the starter out. Once the starter is out, we should be able to pull the trans out. And once the trans is out, I think that one's ready to go in. But so far it's been pretty straightforward. I've just been labeling bags. We got an exhaust hanger, we got belted block and trans cross member. It's a cross member brace, you know, just labeling things. Honestly, so far it's been pretty easy besides this starter having to come out. Not too bad, and even the starter's not so bad, it's just that the intake has to come off. How's it going, Moses?
Oh, pretty good.
Gotta unplug everything over there. She's out. The intake manifold is off. The starter down there is out. Not too hard to get. It is kind of crappy that it's e-Torx because you can't get a wrench back here. But when we went to pull this bolt, that bolt out, the head faces on this back side. So it uses the e-Torx. As you can see on this one, it was starting to get a little rounded off on the edges because of the angle we were approaching at. And you see there, that's not what that's supposed to look like. We almost had this one-day trans swap turn into a one-week nightmare. If, I don't know, the engine had to come out or something else if we couldn't get that bolt off. Thank God these bolts are aluminum because it didn't take too much force to snap it, but when it was cross-threading, let me tell you, we were sweating. But all we got left to do is set the jack down. As you can see up here, she's starting to separate a tiny bit. So we are about to set this thing on the ground and assess what we're doing exactly, because we haven't even really put the transes up to each other. We don't know if the drive shaft is going to work. We're just hoping and assuming that it will based on some research we've done. Moses did a good job sourcing all of these parts for the swap. At least it looks like it. We'll find out when it comes time to install, but we got a box of goodies, so hopefully that's it. Alright, I'm going to walk you guys through every issue that we have encountered with this manual transmission swap. Starting with the big elephant in the room. The lengths of these trannies. It's just too far off for the drive shaft to be able to extend. So we're definitely going to have to take our drive shaft in and get it lengthened. But luckily, this bushing swapped from that trans onto this one, so we were able to reuse that. This is our new dual mass flywheel. This is just a factory style flywheel for this setup. And this is the old flex plate bolt that we took off of the auto setup. And that thing doesn't go in. This head is just too big to fit through, so we're gonna have to find some new bolts. They're probably supposed to be some E-Torx or something, but gonna have to figure that out. And then the only other issue that we ran into separate of the trans swap is this broken stud in the starter. We don't want to have to go buy a new starter, so yeah, I'm gonna go get this pulled out, retapped. I think that's it. Moses is down here pulling the drive shaft out so that we can take it to the drive shaft shop first thing in the morning and get that lengthened up. Alright, what is up? We are on day 2 of this manual swap on the E90, and we just got back from BMW and we were able to find these guys here, which, as you can see, compared to the other bolts, these are Torx. They drop right in. So that solves that issue. This morning I got the drive shaft dropped off at a local drive shaft shop, and probably going to be done Tuesday, so we're going to have to sit with the car here for a couple days because today's Friday, but there's a chance it's done today, but pretty unlikely. So we got a pretty rainy day here in AZ. As you can see, we got this jerry-rigged canopy going, some cardboard on the ground. We're just trying to let it dry up under here a little bit so that we can go and stab the tranny. And now that we got the flywheel bolts, got a towel covering the engine, but not too bad. So we pretty much just told the drive shaft shop to extend the stock drive shaft 3 inches just based on what we had measured the distance of on those. Besides that, I think all of our issues are pretty much sorted. You saw that we had this bolt here snap off in the transmission. This was sticking out of the tranny. We tried twisting it with some pliers, and then this snapped off. So then I literally had to drill it out, and as you can see, I kind of missed the center a little bit and hit the threads. But honestly, still threads. Yeah, the bolt still threads in there pretty good. If I can get this in focus, you'll see. It's got most of the threads. It's like 75% there. Yeah, if you don't want to focus. We'll start off with the flywheel going on the engine. Then we'll get the clutch put on. And just slowly grind ahead. Hopefully we can go get some skids out in this rain. I had to reseal my tail light here on the Miata because it's been getting some water in it the last few times. But we also might go drive that guy tonight. Moses has got the clutch and flywheel up on there. Right now, the clutch alignment tool on these things is pretty crazy, so we're working on that right now. Alright, so that's the bolt for the clutch alignment tool. As you can see here, I had to modify it because it just wouldn't allow the pressure plate to sit flat. The pressure plate was sitting on the back of this, so I had to cut that out and modify it a little bit. And now what we're gonna do is with a 14 mil Allen, I might need to go hold the crank. He's gonna take this lock collar out of the middle of the pressure plate, and once that's out, we can get the alignment tool out and put that back in.
Death Star, Ninja Star.
The Ninja Star, the BMW throwing star for the low cost of clutch replacement. So this right here locks into the pressure plate over the fingers, and I don't know exactly why. I guess it's some sort of assisting thingy-majigger. Who knows? But now with that out, oh yeah, look at that. Let me see that thing.
Cut fucking hair.
Oh yeah, look at that. So, the way this works is you slide this into the clutch. This is over the pressure plate and whatnot, and it's attached to it. And the problem we were running into is this was running into this when it had this extra material. So BMW Ninja Star does not go back on. So apparently what that is this right here is a pre-tensioned clutch pressure plate, and all that was doing was holding these fingers further inward so that the disc over here is further away, so that you can mate it up flat, put the bolts in, and install it easier. So we took that thing out. We are good to just put the transmission back in. All right, we kind of just got carried away and kept moving along on the trans install. So if you look on down here, the manual trans was so much easier to put up in there than the auto trans was to come down. So we just manhandled it up there, but we've got all the bolts up in there. Moses picked up some longer bolts from FCP Euro, just because the manual trans has some longer flanges. I think these bottom ones, like over here, that guy right there is a longer bolt, but yeah, trans is up in there. I'm gonna have to start looking at the cross member situation. We got the starter put back in, and right now Moses is just reassembling the intake manifold. Over here we have the old automatic transmission harness, and this thing is just long and inconvenient to have in the engine bay. So over here I'm starting to de-pin it, or not de-pin, but this is the engine chassis harness part. So this right here unplugged from here, and I just popped it off of there. I got two more right back here that I gotta get out, and once those are both out, I can pull this harness completely out of the car just to get it gone. But the swap is coming out nicely. Moses is hard at work over here in the rain getting soaked. But yeah, this is coming out pretty good. We should be buttoning up here today, getting fired up. Obviously we're not gonna have our drive shaft today because we're waiting until next week, but hopefully we'll have everything else finished up here. All right, I'm starting to look into these cross members, and I think I've come to a realization. So the old cross member, as you can pretty clearly see, bolted in here and sat back here. But if you look at where this is and where the trans is more in line with these holes. So this is the old cross member, and this is where it sits. And as you can see, we're just way far away from those mounts. Yeah, when I take this cross member, as you can see, there's some never used holes right there, and then the old one right there. But when I put this right there, that lines up, it lines up over there, and now we're right underneath our mounts. So this worked out. Oh my god. Jesus. What the hell? Well, this worked out pretty well, so I'm gonna get this cross member bolted up in here, and then from there it's installed. We're gonna go start working on this shifter. As you can see, we kind of just got it floating up in here in the hole, so we're gonna get this sorted out. We'll start working on the pedal assembly on the inside once the intake is bolted on, but yeah, this is looking pretty good. I think we're gonna be able to get this done. I thought it was just these two, but it turns out if you push this little tab right here, you can take this whole little junction block out, and as you can see, also this right here runs under there to this ground right here. So you take that ground off, this comes up, this pops up out of the plastic holder right there. You got the one, this green one from back here. And then, oh, it looks like it actually does go in one more spot down there. So we'll see what exactly that is. All right, we got the shifter installed. That just clamps through the sheet metal of the trans tunnel and drops right down to that linkage that I showed you guys earlier. We got the hood shut because the engine is all put back together. And then right now, Moses is just finalizing some wiring down here with the O2 sensors, putting a little bracket on the trans that holds those up. And then once this is done, we just got to do the hydraulic system and get that all working, and we're pretty much ready to fire it up. One thing I will mention is with the trans wiring harness, we actually ended up just kind of leaving it in there because it had so many different connectors on there. We didn't know what could get unplugged, and we just figured it's probably safest to just leave it all in. So we are going to do the hydraulics real quick. If there's any weird whatever going on, I'll definitely keep you guys up to date on it, but she is coming along. We'll be firing her up here in a little bit. Alright, so right now Moses is disconnecting the brake pedal. I just took that clip off right there for the master rod. And right there he just put the manual transmission gas pedal that he had picked up in the car. Luckily the connector was the same, no issue there, plugged right in. The difference in the automatic and the manual pedals for the gas pedal is the automatic, as you see right there, has this little kick down that pushes in that extra little bit to tell the transmission to kick down a gear, and the manual pedal doesn't have that, so that should be no issue there. And once he has that manual or that automatic brake pedal off, we can put the pedal assembly that he just put the master cylinder on where that used to go. Kind of crazy where the master cylinder is mounted on this. Typically it'd be on the other side of the firewall, you know, over here, and there'd be a rod connecting it to something right here with a master, or you know, a reservoir. This one gets pushed in directly right here, I guess when it's actually mounted to the firewall and the whole bracket doesn't move. And you just have lines running out of the firewall. One goes to the slave, one goes to the brake booster, or the brake cylinder. What am I trying to say? One of the lines goes to the brake master cylinder reservoir, and then that one feeds the master cylinder under the dash, and then that pushes fluid to the transmission. So a little bit more work ahead of us, but once that is all hooked up, we should be able to bleed the clutch, start the car, hopefully it fires up, the gas pedal works, everything revs up like normal. We can go through the gears, watch the drive shaft spin, make sure there's no sounds in the trainer. We already checked fluid in it. Fluid was all good. Is it a tight fit?
Oh, no, I got it.
Right now, we are in the process of bleeding the hydraulic system. So I know I showed you guys that Moses got the pedals mounted up in here, and we've already started to bleed it to the point where we have this returning back up to its spot. But unfortunately, down here on one of the fittings we installed, we got a leak. So right now Moses is pulling off the fitting that's leaking, but it's just one of the fittings that goes from the slave up top. So the way we routed these is, luckily BMW, the chassis was all the same, so we were able to just pop a grommet out of there. We put a little hose as a temporary grommet under the manual gas pedal. So we routed this hose up through here, and this runs up to the slave cylinder. And then there's another hose that runs off of the slave cylinder up through that little gap up there. Runs up, and we just had to cut a little nipple, just like that. You just cut that off, put the hose over while it leaks out, and that's all routed. So Moses has this hard line off. So yeah, it was the fitting that went right here, right? That was leaking?
Yeah.
So try looking up, you might need to take the slave off, but you're sure the O-ring doesn't go up in there?
I'm pretty.
I mean, yeah, I guess this one's on the end.
It goes on the line, yeah, and I don't fill it in there.
We're gonna go to Ace, get that leak right there fixed with a new O-ring, get it bled, and then we'll be testing it. All right, so we have the clutch bled, and we are trying to fire it up, and she's turning on, but she is not wanting to start. We've tried plugging in the auto shifter again because there's an indicator on the dash saying that it doesn't know what gear it's in. Our next thought is we're going to try to plug in the actual transmission to this harness over here and see if that'll switch it up. But we're just going to kind of play around with some of the electronics, see what it takes, and whenever we get this recipe sorted out, we'll show you guys. We've got the hydraulics all bled. It's pretty late already. As you can see, it's pretty damn cold out here. But we're pretty much just having an issue getting the car fired up, and I am pretty sure that the reason why is the immobilizer system. I think it's picking up the new gas pedal. So we're going to have to wait a few days and have a tuner come and look at it for us. But I'm pretty sure once we get that immobilizer system deactivated in the ECU, we should have no problem firing it up. We are still waiting on a drive shaft from Arizona Drive Shaft, but that'll be done in a couple days. So when we are ready, we'll get those two things done, and then we will go and try to fire this thing up. As for the tranny harness that we messed with earlier, right now we just have it unplugged. We had tried plugging it into the tranny and putting all the old components back in, but I think just putting the aftermarket gas pedal in, I think that we tripped the ECU immobilizer, and it's just not wanting to start anymore with anything. Let me fill you in a little bit. So we dropped this car off at Vader Solutions to get this thing tuned, just because they had to flash the ECU and bypass the security system, which is what we were having problems with on the initial startup after doing the swap, just because putting that new gas pedal in actually tripped the what is it, the CAS
immobilizer, basically security system to get in the vehicle. And like I said, we were supposed to bypass some pins that I didn't trust myself to do. Justin probably could have done it. I didn't want to do it. So we took it over to Vader. They did that, and now diagnosing misfire because BMW.
Yep. Of course, we do the manual swap, and then we took it on its first drive, and she almost didn't get us home. So we think it might have been related to some O2s, so we just threw the rest of the exhaust back up on there, and we're about to see if she's still misfiring. And it might need to kind of clear up a little bit. Try going through gears. Make sure the parking brake's not on. Alright. Don't go too fast on wheel speed. Alright, let's get it on the ground. Oh, that feels way better, right?
Yeah, it does feel better.
Oh yeah, bang it. So we still got the transmission malfunction code, but and pretty much every other light on the dash you can imagine, but that's just normal BMW things. All that matters now.
It feels a lot better though.
Dude, it feels like powerful.
It still kind of has that throttle thing, but
well, she's misfiring and not accelerating again. Can't even make it up this hill. All right, what is up? Justin at Chase Industry. It is March, end of March right now, and the last time you guys saw this was about Christmas weekend. As you see here, it's changed quite a bit. Moses has done the Chase Industry fade across pretty much the whole front half of the car. And yeah, he's been driving it around. As you see, we got it manual swapped and we had it running and driving and breaking down on us at the end of the night. And basically, I'll let Moses run you through it, but he got that sorted out, and since then he's just been driving it around, daily driving it. He took it to another track event, and we'll show you some pictures or footage from there too, but he got to test out the manual transmission, and it's been doing good.
Yeah,
so
pretty well. So basically what it was throttle body adaptation. Cleared the codes, fault codes in there, and literally after I did that, it ran perfectly fine. Throttle response was good and everything, and I've been to 2 drift events so far in this thing. It's done pretty well.
been fighting a few understeering issues, but my tire setup and shit like that kind of bad right now.
What up?
So I'm getting that sorted out. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good car. Still some stuff you got to work out, like coolant leaks, but that's BMW stuff, as always, you know.
Yep, so let's give you a little walk around. We'll show you what's been up with it. It's definitely gotten a little beat up since the last events. It got a whole paint job and ripped side skirts off. First time we got to take it out. But, yep, swear we're not lying, still manual.
So far, so good. I mean, the rear end's pretty much, you could say, is fully adjustable now. It's got adjustable camber arms, tow arms, coilovers, just probably a few more things to come. But right now, as the way the car sits right now, it's pretty solid. Just the main thing is getting the tires and wheel situation worked out. I don't want to do BMW fitment 5x120 anymore, which is why I bought hub adapters for 5x120 to 5x114, so I have a broader range of wheels I can put on it. And it'll help with understeering, because at one of the events, I debeated the front wheel, and then I put these really shitty tires on with like really tall sidewall, and it was just causing all sorts of issues.
I think with the new coilovers, some fresh tires, and the current setup, this thing feels like it is ready to go do anything, honestly. And even with the understeering issues, I mean, when you get it sideways, it's definitely, I mean, it likes to be sideways, and you can tell that it's capable.
It really does.
But there's just those little inconsistencies we still got to work out with it.
Like these, I wore these down just doing shit on the street.
Yeah, this is just
which I gotta control, because, you know, it's gonna get me in trouble if I keep...
this thing's got so much power. Anytime we try to race him, he's just spinning tires. Granted, he's running some pretty small tires in the back just because they're easy to get and cost effective. But I've been telling him, once he gets a little more comfortable, he's definitely gonna need to start getting some beefier tires and adding in some grip to the rear to really start dialing in his driving.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's where we're gonna leave you.
That's pretty much all I have to say about the car, honestly.
Yeah, maybe we'll put a little build list or parts list in the description or something for you guys, so that you can see everything you need to do to have this be your next drift car. But I think that is it.